will be the InDesign little webinar. So I've got Bridge up here. Got some InDesign documents. Just get my list and away we go. Okay, capture user interface. Interface scaling is going to be my first InDesign document. InDesign will kick in a minute. You can now scale up the interface of InDesign. See, Ashley's joining. Welcome, Ashley. Let me paste my content info, I believe, back into chat pod. Oh, not on the clipboard. I'll get it up there. Well, InDesign is starting up. There it is. If I get bumped off or whatever, I've got my phone. You can text me at that number, send me an email. I'll probably just be a second or two getting back up in Zoom, probably about 4 minutes, if that would happen. So here we go, interface scaling. I did a screen snapshot of this. Hopefully here we're going to start to zoom in. It's a little better, hit the tab key. It's called user interface scaling in your preferences. So how this will work is you drag this, and you can probably, on my computer, which isn't that old, it goes to large and it gives you a preview. You have to quit and restart. If you've noticed up here, you see small, large. Illustrator has these same concepts in different places. But if you've noticed Adobe software, things are getting smaller with these high pixel displays. So the interface is going to have to zoom up so you don't think you need glasses every week. Yeah, it's quite amazing. So here are my preferences files. I'm on a Mac. It's on the InDesign menu, your PC's edit, and there it is right at the top. User interface scaling. And you can see all I get on this computer is large, but it gives me a preview and I have to restart. So things become a lot bigger. I've tried it out. It's pretty interesting, especially if you're working on a laptop, because we're getting these high, real high resolution, let's say, displays now. New Macs that just came out, unbelievable. The resolution on those with the chips they have and the video cards, and also PCs. So you might need to make that interface bigger so that you don't have to use accessibility constantly. If you're on a Mac or a PC, you want to look into accessibility, even if you do this. I know in After Effects, I have to type into a dialog box on a timeline code. Boy, does it sound fun. Well, it's so small, I have to use accessibility so that anybody online in a class can actually see what's going on, or they have to, because they can't pick up the accessibility in Zoom. But I could use that with the interface. So that's nice that that's there. And a few other things have changed. Let's see what's up here. We want content aware. We can start with that. Capture. I was just in Photoshop and it deals with content aware. Notice here it has to update the modified links. And I'm going to take a look at my pages panel, and I can't zoom in. I can drag it out though. So they've renamed the master layers, or let's say, pages, as parent pages. So they've renamed them to be parent. Also, I've noticed they've changed and inverted the colors of the selection tools. So the main selection tool now is a white arrow and a black arrow on direct selection. So they've changed that. And I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to be confused by just that. And then one day look at the pages panel and go, where are the masters? Or right click to do something, and it will be called apply parent. So that's been updated. Let me reset my workspace. Okay, they put Adobe Capture inside of InDesign. Select an object, right click on it, and extract. It's called extract. Extract from image. What I want to extract now is a color theme. So if you're not aware of, it used to be under mobile apps, Adobe Capture, which can go a lot further than this with the color themes, but it analyzes the document and pulls up the main colors as little dots. You can move those dots around and change colors, different colors, and create a color theme from an image. Now, if I don't have the Capture app, what this means is I can get an image that I take on my phone, import that on my computer, and bring that into InDesign and use this to get a color theme from something I see just walking out on a vacation that I think I'm going to have. Of course, I'm not. Karl's not having a vacation. And then you could save that to your CC libraries. And then that pulls the Capture theme up, and you can use that in any Adobe product. You could also click plus and add more files from your hard drive in here and do things like convert them into vector shapes and type, which we're going to look at next. So once I have that, I can use those colors to colorize things with drag and drop, you would think. There, just select and that works. Here's a frame. I got a color from there. I don't need an eyedropper. So now I can unify this whole theme through a whole document, text colors, right from a few different colors. Pretty interesting. So once again, right click, extract, and we can go to color themes. Now, why did you go back here? Because look at the color mode. Colorful could be bright. Analyzes the document. Automatically analyzes. Of course, you can change those. You could go deep. You could say dark. You could go to none. And then basically just drag down around what it gets and redo it. So you can make different color themes from this. You don't have to worry that, it's not Illustrator with the color harmonies, but by using this, you can just keep adding different themes that relate to each other. It's kind of nice. you might want a bright theme and then add that to your libraries. And then you could come right back in and let's say we'll go for deep and we'll add that. Wow, pretty nice. And that should show up in all your Adobe Creative Cloud. This is going to be capture text. So if I get into a type frame or select some type, and right click and I want to extract. Look at this. I don't see anything there. Nope. Have to use a selection tool. V for move. Select that type frame. Let me zoom in. I don't even think you can see that. That's better. Right click, extract. And we want type. And you drag this over the type. You can resize it. And you click Find Similar Fonts. If you go to Photoshop and you have an image under type, it's called Match Font. And you can just drag out a selection and it does the same thing. The difference here is you could save these directly to Creative Cloud libraries. So if you want to download one of these, all you have to do is select the one you want, or maybe more, and save to your libraries. You see, they're up there. They come in as character styles, but you can use those fonts. If I move this around, notice I can't really, I can reset this at the top. And then start to move it around. So that little reset button, it looks like a wheel. Even that comes in and starts to, no, it's not really, here it has sample text. I could say, this is me. So you can change the sample and it picks up something that it thinks is close. Maybe I'm more interested in this. So I think I have to click the reset button. Wow. Otherwise, you get frustrated. I was. So I clicked the reset button and things started to work. So then you can add that to your libraries. So anywhere you have anything in the document, you can get that to work. I could capture that, see what, all I have to do is select it, right click and say extract. Notice selection tool is needed. So this will be type. And it downloads directly to your computer, right into InDesign off of Adobe Fonts. I think I already have that, but I don't have this. That's interesting. Sneakers. I think we'll use that. Oh, look at edit. Oh, you mean you can edit this? Yeah. There's your leading and your tracking. And save that to my library. Oh, somebody put a wonderful thing in the chat pod. Exactly. Supposedly, that's an issue. If you use it for web design, that could become a real issue. That's why when you package files, they usually, printers don't want any of those types of fonts that are subscription fonts, because they don't have your subscription info and they don't want to be responsible for it. Though you can work around that and get those embedded in. Is there a way, if I used one of these fonts or those colors? Yes. Use Gridify and drag these colors into the squares. Select them and create a library, not a Creative Cloud library. This library, File, New. Look at this, File, New Library. Nope, I don't want CC libraries. I want an InDesign library. You have to give it a name. I'll just call it Thingies, because I like to have fun. I had an intro class recently, and as like all intro classes, the best thing I got out of it was the library. You can save whole page spreads in here, anything you want. So if I had those all set up and ready to go with squares, then I could just drag it into my thingy. I can put a whole page in the thingy, not just that. That's mine. It self-saves. I don't have to save it. It's like a good dog I used to have. Used to come off print runs, 4 o'clock in the morning, because somebody messed up the press, my local paper. I knew how to fix it. I'm crazy. Plus, I needed income to feed my daughters. And my dog would be there. He wouldn't go to, he'd sleep on a chair. His head would look up at me, and he'd slowly get down and go to bed. And that reminded me of a library, believe it or not. It doesn't, get crazy with me. It's always there. I can close it, reopen it, don't have to save it. They're small. You could put them on flash drives, and that'll solve that issue of the subscriptions. So I hope that's helpful. That will answer that question. Once you get them in here, they're yours. They're not tied to anything except this library. Don't lose it. Don't do that. You'll be cranky. Take a look at it. You can add whole page spreads, anything you make. And if you have styles, any types of styles, just tag text, drag it in. You could drag one text frame in and boom. How do you get your corporate colors into other InDesign documents? A library with gridified squares. Just drag the colors in, put them in the library. Then you could share that across your work group. Wow. That came from Aldous PageMaker, believe it or not. Here's capture text again. And then we have capture shapes. So if I select this object, and by the way, this is a digital negative file, a camera raw file, came right into InDesign, no problems at all now. And I'm extracting from the image. If you want, you can use the object menu. And it should be up here, lurking down here, extract from image. You could even get a keyboard shortcut, and make it for this, because once you get into one, you've got them all. They're all three at the top. Doesn't mean you can't change your mind. Is that nice? Say I could say type or color themes. So once this comes in, the detail, this is called a threshold command in Illustrator. It goes to black and white. You could smooth it on save, which will smooth out the lines. It's resizable. But if you want to delete things, it's really cranky. It does have an eraser, if you can see that at the top left. You have to use a slider with testing and then drag, but you can't undo. And it's a serious hard-edged. Myself, it's not bad. I'm just not great at it because I'm used to just opening this up in Illustrator and working with it there. But when you're done, you can save it to Creative Cloud Libraries. Capture has a few more things that you can do with it. The app itself, if you're on a tablet or a cell phone. I was always wondered, when I saw the Capture app, I needed an object and I might have it in a room or something. I might need a lamp and I want to get it into Illustrator, and that thing could vector trace and get me part of the way there. This could do the same thing. I could open up Illustrator now and drag this thing right in, and then, work with it as vectors inside of Illustrator. So it's not just about InDesign. You would think they might put this into some of their other products. Photoshop, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Be nice to have a vector trace in Photoshop. We've already got to find the font. Wow. Color harmonies, there's a tool there in Photoshop that can create color themes, but I don't have a vector trace. And it looks like this is taking a while to work. I don't think I can cancel this either. This gets scary when this happens. There we go. Here's Caesar. Of course, I'm using a right click because I'm going to extract his shape. And eventually this comes up. And once again, this is called threshold. So what it does a cutoff. It's either white or black. Probably want to smooth that out. Notice also you can invert it. Interesting. You can use these in other programs like Illustrator that support things called luminance mask. Instead of using the vectors, Photoshop has that too. There's a way to do it where you can get the transparency of one object or from another. White shows usually in that black hides. Shades of gray are semi-transparent. In this case, basically, it's either white or black. So it would create some pretty hard cutouts, but that's what it's for. Let's see if it'll save quickly to the library. Probably because the file size of these is pretty good size. I didn't size them down when I put this together, but it does look like if you get in trouble, you can click the red box and get out of there. And of course, I could right click this and extract from this. So let's see what we can extract out of it. First, I'm going to get the color theme. So I've snapped this object. Client wants me to use it for a design. Let's cancel that. I guess I didn't have it selected. I thought I did. No excuses, Karl. Go for the color theme. Maybe we'll use a muted just for fun. Add that over. Head back and go for deep, kind of the extremes. That could look pretty good. Looking good there. Let's go to shapes, and then we could vector trace it. And I could save that. So you can see how you can use multiple captures on one image, or go to the plus at the top left and add more. Okay, These have been in here for a while, but in some workflows, this is amazing. At least I think it is. Here's auto select subject. I've already applied it to this image of this gentleman. I'm going to get the text wrap panel. It lives in the window menu. It's official. Text wrap. Hidden under a zoom panel. Yes, if you see my mouse moving, and you wonder what's going on, I'm moving zoom panels. In text wrap, you've got the little buttons here, the three main ones. First one on the top left turns it off. This basically wraps around the bounding box, which basically pushes the type out. And this is basically called clipping path. But what you want to select is underneath. It says type. It's called select subject. That's all you have to select. It automatically figures out the subject. Then, if you have trouble, go to wrap to. Usually it's both left and right. That looks good, by the way, but always try largest area. Really interesting, it's that fast. You could even include inside edges. That's all it takes. Here's an interesting design. I'll select this layer or this piece of footage. Go to the third button, text wrap panel. Tell it to go to select subject. Already pushes it out of the way. This is called a keep away value underneath. You can click up arrows or just click inside and use an up arrow or down arrow and push the type away. So now you can create these beautiful designs. This would just be the opposite. This one's interesting. Notice the clarity. These images really weren't processed at all in Photoshop. So, I mean, you've got a lot of flat areas. It's not very sharp. But you know what? It does a good job of detecting edges. But you have to go to type and just say select subject. Then use a keep away value. See here, it says both left and right. But what if I went to largest area? Well, that does adjust it a little bit. Of course, if this type frame got resized, then that would be a whole other different concept that would happen. This one's really nasty, I think. Not that there's something wrong, you know, with the person in the photo or any of that. Let's see. Kirk, it goes into your library as a vector shape that can be opened up in Illustrator and then edited there. So it's vector. You probably have to come in and work a little bit to get that to work in InDesign. My contact info, by the way, let's see if that's on the clipboard. Use my contact info, Kirk, if you have, you know, any questions about that or really need to get into it, it's cranky, or any, you know, scenarios where we can get it to work with Illustrator itself. If you brought it into Photoshop, it probably would be dragged in as a bitmap, but if you got it into Illustrator, you could save it out as vectors. It'll probably be context sensitive as far as an application goes. Now this, and you see we have another passenger joining. Welcome. We're taking a look at content-aware wrap with the text wrap panel. And I've got a photograph here. That's not the greatest thing on earth. It's pretty flat. Can it detect the edges? Third button over. Basically, subject, select subject. It's already figured that out because that's the last one I had. I could include the inside edges. There are holes in there or not. Or just go to largest area once again. And that there's your inside edges. And actually doesn't even have to worry about that. So, I mean, it's nice. I mean, an image like this, if it was color corrected in Photoshop, if I did a right click edit original, that would help it out a lot. You could just turn it off and then come back in and select the subject. But when I saw this, I thought, wow, this is really amazing. Here's another example. This is going to help a lot of workflows. See there, it split that white type up pretty well, didn't it? There's your keep away value. You can use an up or down arrow if you like to click. You can see how the type goes through. And once again, largest area is one that you'll find gets used a lot. And that looks a lot different now in this area. Let me zoom in. Maybe you could see it better. Then you get all that kind of overspill. You should probably take off hyphenation for that, Karl. That's something you don't want going on. But just go to largest area, and I think you'll get what you're looking for, especially unlike me if you turn off hyphenation. So you could create these beautiful designs now. You can not only select color and vector trace them, but you can also get them to wrap around. There's a separate program called Adobe Capture. If you go into your Creative Cloud account, I believe you can download it from there. It goes on a cell phone. It goes on to tablets. Now they put it inside of our friend InDesign. First, I'll do this little wraparound here. Let's say that I select the type layer, but I can't select the object underneath. And you're starting out in InDesign, or even if you aren't, don't learn the shortcut, just right click, in this case, select and get the object below. Look at that. Next object below. Then you can wrap the third button. It goes to select subject. Nothing should be that good, but it is. A little keep away value up there. I like to just click and use an up arrow because that way I can look and see my design. And probably largest area. Now that's a little different, isn't it? But it's a nice design. Definitely a nice design. You didn't get to see that capture, but now you are. It's always good to take a look at this because this is one of the big new features it's built in. Here I have an image. You have to select it with the selection tool. By the way, they've changed colors on those. So V for move is now white, and A for basic direct selection is now a black arrow. That hasn't changed in Illustrator. I don't know what to say about that, but use the selection tool, just select the object, right click, and it's called extract. It's in the object menu. It's called extract from image. This would be the color theme. They get added to a Creative Cloud library. Then you could drag those colors into a group of boxes and put them into an InDesign library that I was showing everybody earlier. And then they're yours. You don't have to worry about the account. Take a look at the color mode up here. You could change that maybe to deep, dark. Maybe I want bright. You could drag the little dots around and fine tune the color or select different colors. And you could add more than one. So then you save to your Creative Cloud libraries. And it adds it into the current library. Now, when you're in this dialog box, it shows you everything. Extract from image, it doesn't matter what you select. I think you want to get a keyboard shortcut for this, because here you can extract shapes and it does a vector trace. This is called a threshold slider. Detail. It's either black or white. It has an invert button. And you can smooth it. And then when you click Save to Libraries, it saves it into the Creative Cloud libraries. In this case, these are pretty good file sizes. They're not that huge. It's just having issues because of recording and Zoom. So I'm just going to close that down. Text is also wonderful, but it needs a selection tool. So if I select this type frame and zoom in, or drag select, or however you like to select things, multiple text frames, it should work. You right click, extract from image, the type. I need to extract the font from the image that's different than the one I have, but I need something that's going to be similar. I think I want the one at the top. You could size this up. And then you click Find Similar Fonts at the bottom right. Watch me like a hawk. I'm left-handed. Yeah. And I'm finding out my youngest daughter just came up with another book. And actually a real interesting and important part of musical history, which is kind of good as a professional musician, really good. My boss is basically now objectively the greatest drummer that's ever going to live. I knew that when I saw him as a kid, but interesting that that whole scenario is popping up in my life anyway, diverting off from that. Extracting these out means that you can select what you need and then select the fonts that you want. And a lot of these are on fontsadobe.com, fonts.adobe.com. You don't have to log into the account. And when you click edit, you can even edit these. These are very similar, and I think they are what they call variable width fonts that you can search for in a regular type character panel. Really interesting. You could even change the sample type. What it's going to tell you is that I'm left-handed, but I play bass right-handed. So if you need to correct me, please do it. And I don't have depth perception. Yeah. Wow. And my name's Karl with a K. Right. So I'm going to save it to my Creative Cloud libraries. In fact, I can click close up here, I believe, and then go back in. But you could keep saving different fonts in there. You just go to select it with the selection tool, extract from image, type, or if you're getting a colors from text, you could also come in and get the text font. Red, and tell it to find a similar font. It figures that's its best guess. Yeah. But maybe I want this too. And maybe that. So now I can save it to my libraries. Then I can reset, see that little circle, and then start again. As you would think it was earlier. Yep, it's automatically finding fonts. You could just keep adding them in. And then you can close it down. No, the question in there is you open that up in Photoshop, go to type, and it's called match font, and just drag out a rectangle marquee, which it defaults to, across the type, and it's instantaneous and it's really fast. It's my preferred way to work myself personally. And if you don't have one of the fonts, say it's an Adobe font, you can install it just right there. It'll show you a whole list. And if you redo the selection, it'll just keep throwing up different fonts. You can even get mixed selections with that. I think you can do that here too, but the way to work with that would be under the type menu in Photoshop. It's called match font. I've used it forever. If you use Photoshop for nothing else, it's fast, it's really good. Also, we're not done with fonts. If I would go to my type menu and pull up my character panel, and let's say I double click to get in type editing mode here. I've got a whole, see, and then I go to this drop down in the character panel that I can't zoom in on for you. You could see that you could find more fonts here. Now this doesn't take you, and this is wonderful. And why we don't have this in their other programs, I don't quite understand. Because here it says cloud. That means I can see it, and all I have to do is click to download it. So I could just go through this way and go, you know, that looks pretty good. Let's download that. Because you get these wonderful previews. Oh, look at this. That's interesting. There's a nice script font. So then those fonts will appear if I remember the names. Another thing about fonts in here, and I think you're going to like this a lot, is if you come up and type VAR, select a name and type VAR. Those show all the variable width fonts, which I think all the ones that basically where it had edit over in capture, those are definitely variable widths. Nice thing about them is if I select it, there's a little widget, and I hope you could see it on the far right. Yeah, this little guy right here. You click that, and basically here you can stylize the font. Remember, you could do this for styles. Slant is italic. Width would be condensed, expanded. Weight's basically the size. Isn't that fantastic? I love variable width fonts. They're all tied together. Just get a type frame and put that into your, if you have styles or even the font, into your creative, your InDesign library, and just drag it into a new document. And it'll be there and you can use it. Really interesting. Now that works. Let's see where we're at here. I'm not trying to torture you. Just give you some things you might find interesting on some of the updates. Here's a script called Remove Overrides. This file has been edited by me from Classroom in a Book. Look at all this. I've done manual overrides to styles. That's the bane of publishing, especially long format technical publishing. If you go to the window menu, under Utilities is buried a thing called Scripts. You don't have to write any scripts. In fact, you can search for them online. People usually have them up there for free. Not a lot that, you could snap the margins to text frames in a document. And these are called community scripts. There are user scripts in here, application. And, you might find one of those once in a while, to be really useful. Action script, JavaScript, whatever. And you can take a look through and see if there's something in there. Create a character style. Well, you could do that on your own. There are some interesting ones in here, but the one that's really good about community is clear style overrides. You could use this, by the way, on a book file. If you ever do this on 1,000 pages or more, you start to feel like this is computing. It's a double click. And it even lets you decide what you're going to do. I want to do all the paragraph, all the character styles. But what if I had table styles? InDesign's really good with Word tables, Excel files, that type of thing. Other programs like Adobe FrameMaker, it's the bane of our existence in that program. And we're talking book files like Raytheon, my clients, the Navy, small documents are 1,500 pages, average probably 3,500. And they're tables, and you got to figure out how to clear the overrides. Here, you probably won't have to because InDesign brings them in and it doesn't have everything tagged as an override. But if it did, I could even clear those and not touch, see, the paragraph or the character. I can just decide what I want to clear. Object styles, if you've never looked at them, look at them. They contain everything. They can control, have like the paragraph styles with next style applied. You can enforce the size. You could create pull quotes, but you get overrides and you want to clear them out. You could come in and just get the paragraph style or character or style that you want to clear. The main one is I want to clear out the paragraph and character styles because Karl has violated the whole concept of styles. And it's just a double click, clear overrides, and that cleans them out. And you can undo, Command or Control Z, I believe, and redo. Not a bad concept in itself. Let's see, variable fonts, column rules. Let's see. I know this is called adjust layout. You're going to want this once in a while. And you're going to wonder why you might have never even heard of it. If I want to change the size of a document, let me clean up the mess. It's called my workspace. Here's a second page. You can see what that looks like. I can go to File and just go and say that I want to adjust the layout. File, Adjust Layout. Here, I could turn this into portrait instead of landscape, or I might select a different page size or type one in. This is great when you have a portrait that you want to make a PDF of. it'll automatically take care of it for you. Let's say I'm going to go to a tabloid just for fun, and I want it to be portrait. It says auto adjust margins to page size changes. You probably want that. And I bet that you want to adjust font size. Nice thing about this is if you set the size limits, you could come in and control the minimum and maximum, and it'll even get locked content. So under File, Adjust Layout, just select what you want, get the size, click OK, and the digital gods will be willing and look at this. Now that's computing. I just did an undo. Command or Control Z. It's very fast, really amazing. Here's one of those. This is one that I downloaded probably, or I got from the old InDesign templates pack. And I'm going to take a look at this on the spreads, double clicking the numbers. You can see how that looks. So let's adjust the layout. File, adjust layout. Yep, auto adjust the margins because things are usually up against the margins. It relies on that in some cases to size them. And adjust the font size. We want that to scale and lock content. One click, probably done. Except I didn't change the size. It would be good if I did that, huh? Let's just make this a landscape for a PDF file. Very useful. Remembers my last settings, I just have to click OK. And there we go. And what I think is amazing about this is I don't believe that these were anchored into frames. No, these are just thrown on, thrown into a design. There's no main text flow with inline graphics. And that's good. I'll undo so you can see the difference, hopefully. Let's say I have that targeted. See, it's selected and right click on it. Let's see if I can pull this off here. I don't think so. I could use the Pages panel though. Just bear with me 1 minute. If that's targeted, I have to use the Pages panel, I think. Let's see, if I had my control panel up, I think there's an adjust layout in there for you also. Let's see, we can make that just that spread landscape. We get a preview there. No. That's the past, and that's you don't want to, we're going to escape that. That's something that we don't want to do. That was the first thing that they had in this program, which is all this PageMaker had this. Then Adobe messed around with it for a long time. And then they went into the digital publishing suite. Then they dropped that. they had all these liquid layouts, and you could always go in and use adjust layout, and it always worked, and you didn't have to spend as much time moving things around. Let's see, one other goodie here. I don't know if you work with paragraph borders, but let me pull up my paragraph panel here. And I'll double click to get in type editing mode in one of these and go to the panel menu and pull up paragraph borders and shading. What you can see is I put a border around it and I put shading around it. If all these match, let's say I'm not using a style, which I would prefer, and I select these, and then I go to the paragraph borders and shading. Then I can click merge consecutive borders and shading with the same settings. Isn't that an interesting looking design? If I selected these and went to the paragraph panel, fast way, and come up here, paragraph borders and shading, and go merge, then I get a border. So anything I do in here will affect it as a group. It's a way of grouping paragraphs for shading and borders. That's all. What if I needed to find this and I didn't have the paragraph panel up? I've got the, the layers, or I mean the paragraph selected. Hold down Control and hit Enter on a PC or Command Return on a Mac. This is called Quick Apply. You just start to type. Once this comes up, we're looking for borders. And there it is, right there. Just hit Enter. You can click, Enter or Return on a Mac. Wow. These are selected. So Control, Enter, or Command Return. It remembers paragraph borders and shading. That way you don't have to dig around and find things. You can use this to tag paragraphs. It remembers. It's called Quick Apply. So you could come in there and even search for, let's put this to the test. What would happen if I selected this frame and just hit my little keyboard shortcut and did extract? Well, if I could type, I'm sitting about 6 feet back from my keyboard. I'll have to see if that's going to come up. It's probably right in front of me. I bet I could get that new command. It's got to eventually come up. And once I get it up there, then it's going to stay there. I could try shapes. I didn't actually try that on this. It'll give me something to do over the weekend. It's got to be in there. I'm probably just not getting the exact command correct. Extract from. Let's try that. Nope, not yet. I'd probably have to get a keyboard shortcut. It's probably just not in there yet. It'll probably eventually appear. Quick apply. It's a little lightning bolt in the control panel. If you're ever looking at the control panel at the top right, it looks like a lightning bolt. If you click that, it's the same. It just lets you find commands and apply styles without prowling around all day. You know, like maybe you need the text wrap panel like now, and you just don't have time to click around. You know, your hands are beat up. You could type text wrap or wrap and it'll appear right up there, and you can get right to work. And the next time you pull it up, it's going to be text wrap. And if you're applying paragraph styles, character styles, any styles, just name them with a convention that works. Let's see. Video is not going to be supported. Why? Well, because it's basically going to be based on Flash out of a PDF. And nobody's going to embed, video 4K into a PDF. That's not going to happen. And Flash, it converts it to Flash anyway. So I don't know what they're doing with that. Nobody can use it. And I think I've gone through except for rules. This is called text frame options. It's an easy right click. You can even get it in the properties panel. So the properties panel, keep an eye on that. It now has paragraph styles, character styles, little widget here where you can create them, edit them. It's really coming a long way. And down at the bottom, it has text frame. So here you can change the number of columns. See, to 4. But if I click on options, then I get text frame options, which you can get with a right click. And what's been put in there are column rules. So here I've got a 2-point black column rule, and I can work with the start and end. If I type the up arrow, it actually shrinks them down because there's a link on there. Wow. So now if you put these into styles and you need those kind of dividers, they're all there ready to go. And these kind of text frame options can be put into object styles. That's true. Here I have the control panel up. That's one way to go. And up here it has a little widget, and I want to have a new object style. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll call it 4call or whatever you want to call it. Rules. Got a preview button. I need to have that on. And my text frame options are going to be down here. Auto size, text frame baseline. I know you're in there. Yeah, there's my columns, and my rules should be down here somewhere. There they are. You can see that it's put them there. So now I can select this frame. Into my control panel and just use my, wherever that disappeared to, 4call rules. Isn't that nice? So just about everything we've looked at can be turned into styles. And if I took this and put it into my InDesign library, which I have here, I can just drag that in. So then if I have a new document, by the way, now you get a preview option. Also, if you've never done it, look at the templates. They've been a little cranky to download, but I've been getting them to work. I usually have to sign in on the website that it pulls up. And then when I come back click create, click one of them, it'll say download. And why rebuild a wheel that already exists? But here I just want to create a document. It won't have any object styles. So I come up to the window styles and go to object styles, or any styles at all. This is what happens. But what happens with an InDesign library is if I drag this in, then hit delete, the style comes in. So we're looking at that at the beginning of our little session here, a question about how can you make things your own? In most cases, just put them into an InDesign library. Okay, where do we find an InDesign library? It's under File, Menu, New. You've got a document, the usual suspect, but you have a book, not working with a book. That's, you might want to look at a way to group InDesign documents into a small panel so you can control the numbering and work on a low-end computer, my life, or a library. But what we don't want is a Creative Cloud library. No. Just give it a name. Thingies too. You could have as many as you want. You don't have to save them. Like I said, they save themselves. They're small, they can go onto flash drives. You can share them with other people. You could capture whole pages into these things, whole spreads. It's a fantastic, like here, watch. If you zoom out, you can get your selection tool. Select everything. There's a little plus button. Now I got a whole spread. So I could drag that out into a new document and everything will, all the styles will come in with it. I think you're going to be able to get around them, Kirk, by basically putting them into a library. So you wouldn't be, I don't think, tied to a Creative Cloud account. I'll have to try, but see, I'd have to have InDesign up at some point with an account. So if I did have an InDesign account, it probably wouldn't matter because it would just know that I have one. But if I use Photoshop, I could go in there and see what I could find that way. And there's things online where you can get a sample of what you have and have it find, fonts like this for you. There are a lot of free fonts out there. I know that the licensing, because you're renting software. Another thing to look at is, before I pop off here, I'm just trying to give you as much InDesign as I can get in there. They don't do a lot of updates, but when they do, they can be interesting. This is serif.com. I'll get that address in there. These are former Adobe product managers. All right, 2 seconds here. This will get you right up there. Okay, let me move this Zoom panel. I guess I have to come down here and click Find Out More. And this is the Affinity website, which is the link that you need. Okay, when things don't work in Adobe World, what you could do is download a demo of this. This is black box tested. How to get those in, you're going to have to do it with text. If you could put them into something and load them on with a font utility, I think you would be in good shape. I would try using a font utility or take the fonts, oh, by the way, and put those into the Adobe fonts area of your install. Sorry about that. There's also a fonts folder inside of Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop. But if you copy them to, I believe it's under application support, it'll be Adobe fonts. Just copy them into that and it'll pick them up right away. So all you got to do is copy and paste. That'll take care of that. This site, by the way, is called Affinity. Former Adobe project managers that got tired of rental software and the price. So they've got Photoshop, it's called Affinity Photo. Affinity Designer is called the Illustrator Killer. And they have Affinity Publisher, which is basically the InDesign killer. I'm not making this up. And I love them, believe me, but this stuff is black box tested. You own it, no rental. It'll support InDesign files in and out. It even does things that they can't do, especially the Illustrator version, and Photoshop has everything they have and more. Fully documented, unbelievable. I get your InDesign document into this and create styles here. That'll put an end to that. Just get the fonts in here, and I believe you might be okay. Or get something like Fontographer and just open them up in there. It's not hard to learn. It's probably costs like, $49, and just you could save it out as your own font. There's always a way. Use my contact info. I'll dig something up. Isn't this beautiful? You know what's beautiful about all three products is every other week they go on sale. Look at the list price. They go on sale for $25. Yeah. You can own the whole core of the Adobe products for under $100. And it runs like a rocket. And if you have an iPad Pro, the Illustrator Photoshop versions run on that. They cost $10. They run as fast as any desktop in the world. Super fast. Former Adobe product managers just got tired of the shareholders trying to get $2,800 a seat a year. That's true. And these guys walked right out the front door and go, that's it, had enough. So, I mean, this could be your solution. It also has a version of Bridge, and what you'll see is that it works in any color space, supports just about any type of file format that you're ever going to bring in. And, if you have trouble with anything with Adobe, you could get a demo of this, open it up in this, and get to a deadline. I like it. They can't go past 600 a year. Because usually when you're talking about licensing, I'm assuming they're pricing you into the fifth dimension of debt. I'm already there. I got Text Suite. Now I got to get Surface 3D program. I'm going to be spending $4,500 a year just in rentals. I don't know how much more I can handle, but I can certainly handle under $100. Nice guy, huh? But thank you so much for, taking time out. And I hope this has been helpful. And I hope we get to meet again sometime. You have my contact info. If it's not in there, I'll stick it in. Just let me, and you can feel free to contact me anytime about anything with the name Adobe. Whatever I can do to help you, that's my job. Yeah, it takes a little time, Kirk, but it's worth it, Thank you, F. Thanks for the questions, by the way. It's my privilege because I need to know what's going on. We're all in this together. I look at it like the Titanic with classes. I don't send people out in lifeboats into icebergs called rental software. That's not a good idea. So you can always contact me. And if you need anything training wise, you want to get in touch with FMC. They'll sometimes even do personalized training. So just talk to the powers that be, and they'll have recordings of these, but it probably takes them about, I think, a week or two to edit, maybe faster. But if you contact them, they'll let you know. That's what I'm told. If not, use my contact info and I'll, get in touch with who I can get in touch with and see that, you get your hands on it. Have a great weekend, though.